So I know y'all saw Tiffany Haddish going viral at Chris Brown's Breezy concert in LA, right? She was out there with the she ready, looking thirsty. But the quiet shade people think coming through right after, plus Tiffany's own clapbacks about this 2-year cycle and why famous men chase harder when she's celibate. Y'all, I've got live receipts, Tiffany's exact quotes, and why this might be less about a concert turn up and more about old feelings leaking back into the timeline. So let me know if you ready. If
you are married to Breezy, go ahead and make some noise.
Well, Tiffany wasn't holding back when she was front row, tongue out, dancing and reposting the radio reel herself. Then came a wave of she's thirsting over Chris Brown comments. And hours later, the internet revived that old common storyline. Tiffany answered with a thin smile message that read like a support, but read like some shade to some folks. And stay with me because the timing, the specific comments, and the way Tiffany's been talking about Mr. Common lately all line up with one messy timeline. Now, Tiffany Haddish pulled up the Chris Brown SoFi show on September 13th with the second night of his LA stop. And Real 92.3 The Beats cameras caught her on the big screen dancing to bees and marijuana. And she reposted the clip and wrote that she'll always buy a front row ticket to party with Breezy. Added she told him 20 years ago after a dance battle that if God was willing, she'd be front row for life. And that's her caption. And that's straight facts, no cap. But for context, Breezy this year started in Europe in June, then hit North America from late July into September, featuring Summer Walker and Bryson Tiller on the US leg of LA. And it was a zoo. 2 sold out nights and the Browns take you down. That moment, yes y'all, it went viral. Ultra viral, thanks to Kayla Nicole getting NSFW lap dance on the stage. Yeah, that clip dominated the feed for days with a whole lot of hot takes. But where does Common fit in all this? Not at a SoFi, but what he did a while back and what Tiffany said after she got dragged back in the chat because of the Breezy clip. Now, back in July 2024, Common went on The Breakfast Club and made it crystal clear that he's in a healthy, beautiful relationship with Miss Jennifer Hudson. Miss I don't like living under your spotlight. Hoo-hoo. Talking about how he may want to get married to her. But that wasn't just rumor, because that was on the record. The Shade Room posted the pool quotes. Tiffany slid in with one word that set the comment section on fire. Exactly. Hope they actually get married. Was that well wishes or a knowing jelly wink? Depends on who you ask, but fans definitely read it as shade. But Atlanta Black Star clocked the reaction at the time, plenty of folks calling Tiffany weird and telling her to stop talking about him 3 years post-breakup. And that sentiment resurfaced once Tiffany trended for the Breezy clip. The internet memory is definitely undefeated. But Tiffany hasn't just been subtweeting. She's been talking on the mic about the whole relationship and how it started and why it ended and what she learned from it. And that's where this whole jealousy angle actually comes from. At her book events for I Curse You With Joy, Tiffany said flat out the relationship was fun, but it was also a lockdown relationship, and she believed if the world had been open, she would have been in the streets, not coupled up. And that line sparked headlines and a whole lot of she's not over him chatter. Later, she said the only celebrity she entangled with took 2 years of chasing her before she finally gave in at the top of 2020, which lines up with how she and Common connected, because they both said that they met years earlier and reconnected around 2019. Then she went deeper in her view. Common has a cycle, 2 years on, a half year single, then 2 years on again. But you know Tiffany, she wants to stress that she's not mad, but the framing felt like a subtle expose of patterns. And that's not a random blog claim, because that was from Tiffany's interview coverage from this spring. It's every 2 years. That's his schedule. That's his cycle. I'm not mad at that. Not her trying to clock this man's cycle. But she also revealed a celibacy streak around the book rollout, saying that she doesn't have sex. Men work harder, book trips, act more in love. That line matters here because some fans heard it as a subtle text about exes getting more interested when she created distance. What's the flavor of jealousy viewers are projecting back onto Common now that Tiffany popped out front row to Breezy? Do y'all really think that Common would be even pressed about Tiffany? Like, would he be actually trying to shade her? Like, no direct statement, but the perception of the shade lives in everything that Tiffany said about his cycles and in how she responds whenever his relationship headlines trend. Well, Chris Brown's LA stop had heat outside of Tiffany. That Kayla Nicole lap dance became the main character of the timeline, talking about take it down, I really wanna take it down. TMZ, People, Page 6, they ran with it. So the feeds were already a thirsty discourse central, dropping Tiffany's Jumbotron moment into what that same window made her IG story look extra thirsty to some audiences, even if it was fair or not. But add Chris Brown's set choice Take You Down to the stage with Nicole, and you get a perfect storm where any woman enjoying the show gets labeled doing the most. But when Tiffany trends for dancing at the CB show and the timeline recirculates that, exactly, hopefully they get married comment to J Hud, people stitch that together as she's thirsty publicly while sub-shading her ex. It's projection, but that's how online narratives form. And Tiffany knows the game. She's been steering this message about the past relationship for months, including addressing painful headlines from different controversy that still gets thrown at her. But in 2022, Tiffany said she deeply regrets participating in a sketch at the center of a civil lawsuit with Aries Spears. While the case drew intense backlash, Tiffany publicly apologized for the skit's existence, calling it not funny at all. But that soundbite's important not just because it has anything to do with Chris Brown, but because the internet is using any moment she trends to revive it all, questioning her judgment and spin a she's doing too much type of narrative. And that negative reservoir fuels the response to everything she does, including dancing at a concert. So if the audience is primed to be skeptical and Tiffany leans into Breezy's night out, who benefits from calling it thirst? That's where Common comes into play. So let's separate the facts from fan fiction. Fact is, Common praised his relationship with Jennifer Hudson and teased marriage on air, and Tiffany commented exactly, hope they actually get married. That's public. Then fact number 2, Tiffany later described Common's dating pattern as a 2-year cycle and said the relationship existed because of lockdown, public, on mic. Well, then the other fact is that Tiffany went viral at Chris Brown's show, and the feeds are clowning anybody who looks like they're thirsting after Breezy post Kayla Nicole's lap dance. These public posts were everywhere, but unconfirmed, but reports whisper that fans interpreted Common's silence about Tiffany and his high praise for J Hud as shade towards her. There's no direct insult, but the implied contrast, healthy, beautiful, marriage ready versus lockdown only fun, writes itself for them stan accounts. But my read, Common don't need to post a diss. The best shade is letting the public compare how he speaks about J Hud now with how he used to speak about Tiffany, then letting Tiffany's own 2-year cycle comments do the rest. I mean, you don't see J Hud in the audience with her tongue out body rolling at her big age. But Tiffany didn't stay coded. She made sure people knew she was pining and threw in a line that reads a lot like, y'all think he's the prize, they chase me. But on her I Curse You With Joy promo, Tiffany said 6 months of sobriety and celibacy changed how men approached her. They work even harder. I've never been in a relationship like this. People clip that up as Tiffany saying that she's actually the one in demand, especially from famous men. That undercuts any type of storyline that she's thirsting for anybody, including an ex. But layer that over the SoFi clip that she's front row for a performer that she's supported for decades, dancing and posting like thousands around her, and no DM leak, not a backdoor flirt, a concert. The thirst label says more about how people police women's joy than it says about Tiffany, and she knows that. Still, there's a reason that the Tiffany, Common, J Hud triangle always trends when any of them breathe. History and a pattern from Tiffany spell out herself. Tiffany has joked then doubled back when she won't be sleeping with celebs no more, and then laughed, okay, I'm lying. But her serious point has been consistent. Whatever she and Common may have had, it wasn't forever. And if you study the recent history, he tends to do long relationships with high-profile women. Then he moves on. And Tiffany saying it out loud, his cycle is her low-key way of exposing the story without name-calling. Now combine that with the Breezy Bowl swirl, media outlets framed in LA, stop around Kayla and Nicole and Brown's sultry segment, and tell me what you think. Because if you're a celeb like Tiffany in the crowd, any turn up is going to be exaggerated. Meanwhile, Common doesn't need to tweet, he already set the tone a year ago. Healthy, beautiful marriage. That contrast alone reads like shade, especially next to Tiffany's lockdown frame. So where does this go next? This depends on whether Tiffany keeps answering questions about Common or flips the script and lets her actions carry the day. But here's where there's two quick beats that are tied to this exact window. But let me add a little more to this story. Karrueche, Chris Brown's ex, liked and engaged the paparazzi discussing the Kayla Nicole lap dance discourse. And that's not a Tiffany thing, but it does show how charged this Breezy content was the same 48 hours that Tiffany trended. The atmosphere was primed for messy reads. Multiple outlets confirmed 2 sold-out nights at SoFi. Any celeb on camera was going to be able to cycle through the news pages and fan cams. So it looked like Tiffany was trying to make her moment last. She happened to have a caption that linked her to Breezy for 20 years, which made blogs pick up even more. And then that tongue came out and them body rolls came out. Because the blogs picked it up, guess what came rolling back? The She Still Talks About Common critiques from 2024, now welded on to 2025 Breezy clips. And that's now how trending works. But here's what we do know, and we gonna keep it plain. Tiffany danced at Brown's SoFi show, reposted the clip, and declared that she's a forever front row Breezy fan. Clear on camera, her words not a thirst trap, just a turn up. The shade people feel from Common exists mostly in contrast. He publicly spotlights J Hood as marriage level serious, while Tiffany calls their past lockdown fun, and hints at a pattern. But nobody needed to insult anybody for that read. I mean, it's not that crazy. But Tiffany exposing jealousy is less he's mad about my concert and more her broader thesis, men chase harder when she steps back. Allegedly, famous men are pursuing her. But that's her framing and she's standing on that. But if Common makes any direct public comment touching Tiffany again, which is unlikely because he ain't whispered her name, and if Tiffany starts amplifying her cycle talking point about Common, because that's the subtlest, most effective expose she's got, what I'm watching next. And I'm also gonna watch whether Breezy's tour has more viral onstage moments that keep dragging Tiffany's clip back into the feed. Was that Kayla Nicole moment already showed how one performance can hijack the entire discourse? But listen, you the real MVP for staying here and sticking around. Drop a comment down below, just vibing at the concert, or was she trying to steal a moment because of that Kayla Nicole thing and her history with Common? Do you think that Common's marriage ready talk is low-key shade, or are folks reaching? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and then check out this next video.